I'm Cornelia Boldyreff. As you can hear from my accent, I grew up in America, but I've lived in Britain since 1965, and I have dual nationality. I recently became a British citizen. I've worked all my career in computing, and I didn't get my PhD until I was in my 40s, but 10 years after I got my PhD, I became a professor of software engineering. And I've recently retired, but I've started up a company with two friends. They're both women, and we're very excited about that. We're developing a digital currency. It's a social currency, and it's aimed at developing social networks to support a social economy. I was always interested in mathematics, and at university, I initially went to study mathematics and history and philosophy of science. But when I was studying philosophy, the subject I enjoyed the most was logic. So I ended up getting a degree in philosophy. And then I was lucky enough to get a job as a programmer at the university where I worked. And they just got a new ICL 1900 series machine, and I got the opportunity to work on that. And one of my tasks was I developed an interpreter for the APL language, and I was so excited. I really enjoyed working on operating systems and compilers, and since then I've always worked in computing. Mostly, initially, I was working in universities, and then I got the opportunity to work in university startups. So that was exciting. In many of my positions, I was the first woman to join a department, the first woman to be a lecturer in a school, the first woman to be an associate dean at a university, etc. And in a way, that's sad because, you'd think that we'd have more women in the profession already. However, it is interesting. In my first job, I was part of a cohort of about half a dozen women working in the university. And sadly, I think we have seen a bit of a decrease of women in the IT profession, which is a shame because I always say it's such a great profession for anyone, but for women in particular. It's really an opportunity for lifelong learning because our technology changes so quickly over time. That's not to say the fundamentals of computation have changed radically, and a good foundation in logic is still important for both digital logic and for the software side of computing as well. But I do think the rapid change in technology, the widespread use of applications through the internet and our mobile phone network makes computing so much the fabric of our life that women make up 50% of the population. They can't afford not to be involved in computing. I think that's quite a conundrum. All my life I've been involved in initiatives to get more women into computing, to encourage girls to learn programming, learn about computing. And as I said, in the early 70s, when I started working in computing, there did seem to be more women in computing and more initiatives to get women into technology. And some people blame it on computer games and boys' toys. And I do think there is an element of what you might call gendered approaches to science and technology. And it does seem a shame that in the schools, often the science, the physics, and the math, etc., are seen as male domains, and that discourages young women. And I also, this might seem a bit of a conservative position, but I do think that single-sex education gave women more opportunities to work in the sciences and mathematics than the mixed schools that we have now. Okay. Although I see that there are pros and cons of single-sex education. I think that it is important to involve women in the making side of computing, because I think that is where people get the empowerment to do things. So I'm not saying that theoretical computer science isn't important and doesn't have a fundamental role to play, but I do think to attract people to the profession, it is important to give people the satisfaction of making things. And I think in particular that appeals to boys and girls, but specifically I think it would give girls more confidence in the technical side if they had the experience of actually being able to learn to program, to learn to build small hardware systems, etc. You know, every kid loves Lego, and technical Lego is one step further. And I think programming is also a very satisfying area for people to work in. Not to be pigeonholed, to do what you really enjoy doing. Some young women have said to me that they felt they were pigeonholed into what might be called pink collar ghettos. So they were told, oh, you're great, you can do the quality assurance, you can manage the chaps. But they weren't considered for the more technical roles in the company. And they felt a bit pushed to one side. And I think that it is important to do what you really enjoy. And of course, you won't know what you really enjoy unless you try it. So it's important not to, be limited to experience different aspects of computer science and see which one you enjoy working in most.